Sup, bitches?
You're watching Fugitive Red-Eye, and welcome to another anime review. Now we're finally getting to Black Butler Season 2, also known simply as Black Butler 2. Now this was part of that trend that I mentioned before that the mid to late 2000s and the 2010s had, where they would do second seasons of animes that were completely unrelated to the source material. And this is no exception. This is kind of the black sheep of the Black Butler series. It has no connection to any other season with the exception of Season 1. However, I do still think, if I remember reading correctly, that the author actually did contribute ideas to the story, so she still had something to do with it, and that she came up with a lot of the concepts for it, and that is my understanding. And full disclosure, this is my least favorite of the Black Butler seasons, but I do think it actually unfairly gets a pretty bad rap, because I actually think it's still quite good. Now, the first episode of Black Butler 2 is a pretty clever bait-and-switch that really got me the first time, because I didn't really pick up on it until at the end of the episode. Because the first episode leads you to believe this is going to be a completely unrelated story about a different kid with a demon butler. This kid being Alois Trancy, who is a character that's hated by a lot of the fan base, but I actually think he's a pretty good character. He's fucking weird. He's really fucking weird. He is a flaming faggot. This season is a lot gayer than Season 1. I'll say that right now. There's a lot more homoeroticism, and it's pretty fucking weird. But the thing about Alois is he is an interesting contrast to Ciel, because Ciel doesn't really give a shit about Sebastian, and Sebastian is interested and obsessed with Ciel's soul and devouring it, but doesn't really give a shit about him as a person. I talked about this in Season 1, you know, a lot of the fan base thinks that they actually do care about each other, and I think it's actually a lot more interesting that they actually don't. They are like frenemies. I think they have like sort of a respect for each other, and obviously they are bound by the contract, but Ciel and Sebastian have a really funny back and forth where they treat each other like shit. Whereas Alois is, like, in love with Claude, his butler. It's really weird. He's very attached to him. He wants him to love him. And Claude, at first, is, like, wanting Alois' soul, and this will have spoilers, as did Season 1, just so you know. But at the end of Episode 1, it's revealed that Claude snatched up Ciel's soul while there was a brief break in the contract because Sebastian was missing an arm at the end of Season 1. And so Ciel's soul got stolen right as Sebastian was about to devour it. At the end of Episode 1, Sebastian does show up at Alois' mansion and steals Ciel's soul back, and then restores Ciel's soul to his body, but now Ciel has amnesia, forgetting basically all of the events of Season 1. He doesn't even remember that Madame Red is dead at this point. Some interesting things this season is that it's revealed that Lau survived, even though he was left for dead on a burning ship. Somehow he got out of there. Don't ask me how, it's never explained. And we do sort of have Aberline this season, even though he died in Season 1. We do have Aberline in it, but it's actually his twin brother. Although, curiously, Aberline's twin brother is designed with the same facial hair as Aberline is in Book of Circus and onwards. So I think that the creator used the concept she had of how Aberline would look later on and just made it his twin brother since the original died in this continuity. But after Ciel is given back his body, they do a few sort of mini arcs about like spontaneous combustion and stuff like that kind of get you back into the swing of Black Butler, that feel like the arcs in Season 1, although much shorter. You also see Ciel trying to do his duty as a lord and protect Elizabeth and stuff like that and look for a white stag that she wants to find. But eventually, things come to a head when Sebastian makes a deal with Claude to deceive Ciel into thinking that Alois is the one who killed Ciel's family. Because again, he has no memory of defeating Queen Victoria. And of course, this season has more Grell, which is great. I already explained why Grell was a great character in my review of Season 1, because I love just how much of a fucking degenerate he is. I love Grell, and I think it's funny that, again, that the trans lobby likes to view Grell as like an icon that represents them, when Grell is a degenerate piece of shit. But after Ciel and Claude make this deal, the two of them try to come up with this elaborate plan where Ciel would face off against Alois, and eventually that comes to a head as well, but Ciel defeats Alois, but doesn't kill him, although Claude, seeing Alois beg for Claude to take care of him, protect him, and saying that he loves him and that all that he has, Claude just fucking kills Alois. And it's actually pretty sad, Alois is a character that's hated. I get why. He is a fucking little piece of shit. He's a little brat that, like, treats people like shit for no reason. But you do see his backstory, where him and his brother were sort of these little hoodlums in this town, and all the town hated them, and his brother died, and that kind of fucked him up, and, like, he just wanted to get revenge for his brother's death. Interestingly, Alois has, like, a whole cast of demons working for him. There's Hannah, and then there's the 3 triplets that look the same, and I don't really remember their names because they're not really that important. And then there's Claude. Claude's the main one, the butler. But Hannah is curious because she seems to have quite a lot of abilities that I wouldn't have thought about. She's like a demon sheath where she keeps a sword inside of herself. It's later revealed that Hannah made a deal with Alois's brother and that she took his soul, but she, like, then loved his brother and also loves Alois now because the part of his brother is still kind of in her. And she wants to have Alois's soul to sort of reunite them all within her. Not really sure that that's how it works, because it's always been kind of implied that when a demon eats a soul, it's kind of destroyed. For the sake of this story going in a different direction, that's how it goes. So Claude kills Alois, and his soul is put into a ring, and then Claude kidnaps Ciel and breaks his deal with Sebastian in order to try and take both, because he becomes obsessed with Ciel's soul as well. The whole thing plays out with Ciel and Alois in the same body, but Alois's soul taking control for a bit because Hannah brings it out, and then Alois makes a contract with Hannah, and Claude and Sebastian are like fighting to go get to him so they can have Ciel's soul. And Ciel takes control back and orders Sebastian to come eat his soul because he gets his memory back that he defeated Queen Victoria and got his revenge. But the deal that Alois makes with Hannah makes that impossible, because after Sebastian is victorious, in that the contract with Hannah is that Sebastian and Claude must duel to the death, and then Ciel's soul will be freed back to his body, with a twist that she doesn't reveal to them. Sebastian kills Claude using the sword that Hannah had within her, and then Ciel gets his body back. But then Hannah reveals to Sebastian the twist. The twist was that she would turn Ciel into a demon, rendering his soul impossible for Sebastian to devour. I'm not really sure how she's able to do that, but then again, the demon abilities aren't really super explained in this series. But it just seems a bit odd to me that she's able to do that. But she is, and that's just the way it goes. So Ciel becomes a demon, and Sebastian, still being under the order to consume his soul, is still bound to him because he agreed to that order. So now Sebastian will be bound to Ciel forever as his butler, with no reward. Alois's kind of last fuck you to Sebastian and Claude, because he realized that neither of them cared about him. And, you know, with him never having that love from Claude, he wanted to keep Ciel's soul just out of reach and taunting them by having him be a demon. Ciel and Sebastian leave, Ciel fakes his death, and it's not really clear what they're going to do next. It actually would be kind of interesting to see another season following up with Ciel as a demon, because I don't really know what his aspirations would be now, because he got his revenge. But I do think it's interesting because Ciel is a lot more cruel and cold-hearted than Sebastian. I've always found him much more scary as a character than Sebastian, even though Sebastian's literally a demon. So having a season with Ciel as a demon would actually be pretty interesting. Of course, they don't do that because, you know, Season 3 would be Book of Circus, which actually goes back to adapting the manga. So yeah, there's some stuff in it that's kind of like bullshit. Like I said, they just have Aberline, but no, it's his twin brother. Lau somehow survived. They did the amnesia plotline, and now Ciel's a demon. Like I said, there's some contrivances, but I do still really enjoy this season. Like I said, it's a lot more yaoi bait than Season 1 was, so there's definitely a lot of that, and it can get really fucking weird sometimes. Alois also had a story kind of similar to Griffith, where he whored himself out to an old man for personal gain. Again, there's some weird shit in this season, but I overall still think it's a really good season. It goes in a new direction that's different, and so it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I actually quite enjoy it. I still think it's really good. But as I said, it is probably my least favorite of the seasons. And I don't really view it as sort of the ending. Like, I view Season 1 kind of as the ending, because I think Season 1 wraps everything up really nicely. Whereas this I just kind of view as like a side story or an alternate ending. That's kind of how I view it. I know technically the manga's still ongoing, and they're doing adaptations of later manga arcs, like they just did the public school arc, which I haven't seen yet. That's the only one I've yet to see, and I'm going to see it. I know they're working on the next one after that as well. Like I said, it has a lot of interesting things that aren't really explained, like why Alois has all this whole cast of demons working for him. Hannah, they kind of explain, because, you know, she's in love with him, in a sense, because, you know, Alois's brother is still within her. But they don't really explain the triplets all that much. But for what it is, I can appreciate it as a strange spin-off sort of second season alternate ending, following up after the first season, and ending in a completely different way to try and give it a quote-unquote happy ending where CL gets to live. But I would say that it's probably not a happy ending because he has to leave everyone behind and now he's a demon. Like, what's his goal? Are they just going to go to hell and wait for CL to get a contract? Are they just going to live out in hell? Are they going to travel the world? What are they going to do? I don't know. But I do kind of also like the dynamic that the Trancy family has as opposed to the Phantom Hive family, because the Phantom Hive family is the Queen's guard dog, right? They go in and do the dirty work. And then Alois, the Trancy family, is the Queen's spider that goes in and cleans it up after CL does the dirty work. He's the cleanup crew. And I do think that's a really interesting dynamic as well. This season's only 12 episodes as opposed to the first season's 24, although there are 6 OVAs, whereas the first season had 1. And as with last time, I didn't rewatch the OVAs this time around, but I have seen them all before, and they are fun, but none of them are like canon even to this continuity, because it's all just like, you know, ridiculous spin-off stuff like CL in Wonderland and a fake behind-the-scenes documentary. But if you haven't seen Season 2 because it has nothing to do with the manga, I would recommend checking it out. It is a fun follow-up that does take things in a new direction and give it a different ending, and I quite enjoyed it for what it is. But yeah, like I said, it is my least favorite season, so that is that. So next time we'll be talking about Book of Circus, which I fucking love. So we'll get to that in the next review, whenever that is. I've already watched 3 episodes of Book of Circus in this watch-through. But yeah, that's Black Butler 2. I hope you enjoyed this review. This has been Fugitive Red-Eye. Have a good one. Toodles!
You fucking Makai are all the same. One little sniff of pussy and you lose it.